The first speaker I'd like to welcome up to the stage is Dr. Matt Cucolo from chiropractic kinesiologist in Wolcott, Connecticut. Dr. Matt.
Good morning, Patriots. How's everybody doing? All right. I actually made some note cards for today. I've had the privilege of speaking all over the country to various different types of doctors. I'm a chiropractor, but I lecture on functional medicine to medical doctors, other chiropractors, naturopaths, all different sorts. About a month ago, I wrote this anti-mask manifest. So many people loved it, and then I've never seen so many people attack me personally for who I am, which we're all too familiar with nowadays, are we not? It's what happens when you speak the truth. So, I'm going to start with a quote from Thomas Jefferson. A government big enough to give you everything you want is a government big enough to take everything that you have. And right now we have an assault on our freedom. So, that ends my politics. What I'm going to talk mainly about are masks. Okay? I feel we live in a time where facts are considered opinions, and opinions are considered facts. So, who can't stand masks out there? It's about everybody, right? So I took these out. I had to collect these from various people and patients. One of these. One of these. Oh, I dropped this one. And this is an N95. It's not. One of those. To my favorite right here, my airsoft one. Okay? You know what they have in common? What do they have in common?
Garbage.
They can't stop a virus.
That's right.
The virus is gonna virus, okay? So, all those different masks can't stop a virus, and I wrote some studies down that you should know. And I won't try to bore you with details. I'll try to hit them quick and hard. So, I repeat, a mask cannot prevent you or me from getting a virus. Period, end of story. So, anybody have any hair that I could borrow for this one? No? If we took a hair, what's the size of a hair? About 80, the diameter of it's about, a single strand is 80 micrometers. If you divided that by 40, that's the size of a bacteria. Okay, about 2 micrometers. All right? And then if you put hundreds and maybe thousands of viruses, they would equal what's in one bacteria. Let me put it another way. If our body was a lake, and you put a pinch of salt in that lake, that's the size of a virus, relatively speaking. Show me which one of these masks can stop that virus.
Not one.
The answer is none of them. Not one. Asking a mask to stop a virus is asking a chain link fence to stop a mosquito. Okay? That's a fact. People don't like it, but it's a fact. Okay? So, the main transmission for most viruses, respiratory viruses, are long-time aerosol particles, which are too fine to be blocked, and the minimally effective dose, one little dose, is smaller than one aerosol particle. That's a study done in 2009. It was brilliant. So, if you cough with a mask on, if you sneeze with a mask on, the particles go above, they go below, they go to the right, they go to the left, they go through it. It gives people a false sense of security if you are trying to stay away from people who are symptomatic. You think, you have Karen and Susan. Can I use those examples? Karen and Susan are in the supermarket and they have their masks on. And they think, well, I'm safe now, I'm wearing a mask. And Karen's been sick, but she's at the supermarket anyway because she's got to get food for her children. And now she's speaking to Susan, and she's so close, and they're in each other's face, and they're talking, that aerosol comes out. That's a fact. They just don't want to accept it. Okay? So droplets are 5 to 10 micrometers in size. Some are stopped through a mask. I don't contend that. I don't contend it. But here's the thing, and listen to this. This is important. This is where people are conflating the issue. Theoretically, those droplets that escape a mask should what? Drop to the ground like there's this black hole and they disappear. Well, it doesn't happen. Almost all the droplets, what do? They evaporate. They evaporate before hitting the ground. That then frees what? The virus that's in them, okay? And it could be easily to transform as an airborne disease. And that can last for some minutes to hours. But again, I'm not afraid of a virus anyway that 99.96% of us are going to survive anyway. That's just me. Okay? So, that's just me. A couple studies. Here you go. You guys want facts. Everybody likes facts, not feelings, right? Here's some facts. One meta-analysis of 19 randomized controlled trials. This is the International Journal of Nursing Studies. They took 8 community settings, 6 healthcare settings, 5 source control. Here's what they said from the study. Quote, medical masks were not effective and cloth masks even less effective in preventing viral infections. Okay, that's one study. I put about 10, but I'll tell you 3 more that are important. Another one, 2016, a meta-analysis. Meta-analysis basically means you review all the studies that have been done about a subject, okay? Well, this was in the Cochrane review. Physicians that were, quote, physicians that wore a mask or didn't saw no statistical difference in infection rates, end quote. Another study, the BMJ study. This is an important one. This took 3 control groups. People who wore masks, people who, medical masks, excuse me, people who wore basically a cloth mask, and people who didn't wear anything at all. Okay? Percentage in all groups had infections, end quote. Here's the scary thing, and here's the funny thing that nobody talks about. 13 times higher rate of transmission of infection in people who wore cloth masks. 13 times in that study. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me. Show me another study that shows me I'm wrong. I dare you. Okay? Last study, an N95 study, which filters 85% of particles that are smaller than 300 nanometers. Remember we talked how small a virus is? They're in the nanometers, okay? 85% is blocked by, an N95. However, they did this great study where they showed targeted or intermittent use of an N95 mask during high-risk procedures, which meant caring for patients with known respiratory illnesses, cause an increased rate of viral infection. An increased rate. They added later to the study a 4th group where all you did was wear an N95 from the beginning of your shift to the end, and they still showed a mixed result in it. But does anybody out there want to wear a mask for 8-9 hours a day? Do you want your children wearing masks throughout school, throughout the day? It's a joke. It's really a joke. It's a cruel joke, and unfortunately it's our reality right now, and that's what we're living with. Okay? So then there's a couple misleading studies and studies with qualifiers. I'd like to comment really quick if I may. One of the funniest things on Facebook is I get all these warriors out there tagging these articles that say, oh look, here's a study to show that a mask works. No, it's not. You didn't read the article, you person, right? You didn't read it. You didn't read it. You didn't read the study. Okay, because if you follow the rabbit hole and click the study and actually read it, it proves my point, not yours, that it doesn't work. But people like the clickbait. People like to be right, okay? They don't want the truth necessarily. They want to be right. And the moment you get emotional in a debate with discourse, you've already lost the debate. Okay? You've already lost the debate. And that's the truth. Okay? So 2 studies, the one they quote, ready? If I read you this and I spread this on Facebook or whatever you want to use, whatever, surgical masks can reduce the spread of COVID by up to 75%. You'd be like, whoa, I got to get a mask on right now. Right? Well, that's the hamster study. They put a bunch of hamsters, okay, next to each other in these little boxes, and they put a hole in there, all right, and then they put some masks on in there.
On the hamsters?
With hamsters. That's a study not done with real-world conditions. Are you a hamster? Right? I mean, I feel like we're a guinea pig right now, the way they're trying to come at us. All right? And then the other one was the Texas A&M study I hear all the time. Quote, researchers, estimate face mask measures prevented more than 66,000 infections in New York City. This is after they had a lockdown order in place and the whole winter burden of all the infection ran through everybody. We're already on the downslope. And that's what they do. After the downslope, they're like, oh, see, masks worked. Okay, all right, people don't pay attention to it because they embed in the minds of the public, and that spreads like wildfire. And that's why we're up against this. So let me talk real quick about the psychology of wearing a mask. What do they say? Oh, wear it in love.
Oh, brother.
Right? I wear it for you,
Oh,
not
brother.
me.
I can't stand that.
Give me a break, Karen. Okay? Here's why. Here's why that's such psych brainwashing. Here it is. If we actually thought that we wore a mask to protect ourselves, okay, and then we were out in public right now and every single one of us had a mask on except for one guy or girl, we would be like, poor person, they're not wearing a mask, they're putting themselves at risk. Correct? But now they brainwash to say, well, I'm wearing a mask for that person. And if you see somebody out there without a mask on, now you're like, look at that guy or girl. They're not wearing that mask. They're putting me in danger. That's brainwashing. That's groupthink. That's herd mentality. That's the psychology of it. Okay? It's a crock of BS. Since they're so thoughtful of my health, the next time I'm in the grocery store, I'm going to take out all the sugar in their cigarettes and everything else that weakens their immunity. Okay? Lastly, because I think my time is just about up, I'm going to speak about the harm of wearing a mask. The harm. I already alluded to you that study that showed that wearing a cloth mask puts you 13 times greater risk of an infection. Okay? Now, why? Because you're rebreathing expired CO2. You become, I had a term I wanted to give you. I lost it. But it's become a reservoir for, you attract more bacteria, more viruses, and other infections, okay? You fomite them. So, you decrease your oxygen. I still can't understand how you could wear something for 20 minutes more, or a few hours, and they're like, well, it doesn't stop your O2 inhalation. Are you kidding me? Come on. Common sense, people. Common sense. You wear that, it's going to decrease your partial pressure of oxygen that you do. Now, that's going to weaken your immune system. How? Well, what do you know? You're a chiropractor, I hear. What do you know about the immune system? Oh, I know something about innate immune system and then acquired adaptive immune system. I could break the whole thing down. We were taught that in school. People don't understand that a chiropractor and an MD basically have the same degree, except they prescribe drugs and surgery, and I try to not prescribe drugs. I don't prescribe drugs, and I keep people from surgery, and that's kind of a big deal. That's a fact. So, your lysosomes, what the heck are those? Well, they're in every cell in your body. And a lysosome is like the garbage men and women of your cells, and they're one of the first lines of defense to fight off a pathogen, whether it's a bacteria, a virus, a protozoa, a fungus, whatever, okay? But they're oxygen dependent. And if you don't get enough oxygen in your system, you're putting yourself at risk. You're lowering your immune system. You know, we're so big on the germ theory. That's what kind of modern medicine is based off of, okay? Germ theory means I cough on him, he coughs on her, she gets my germ. Well, what if his immune system was strong enough not to accept that? That's terrain theory. And that's what vaccines are based off, by the way. That's all they want to do is pump the vaccine. That's the big finish, by the way. Just wear the mask. It's going to be soon. Just get the vaccine. I'm telling you, that's what's coming. If you don't see it, you're blind to it. Okay? So, last I'll finish. What are the side effects with most mask wearing? And I see this in our clinic. My father sees it. I know other doctors that are in our group that we see all the time. Fatigue, dizziness, vertigo, headaches, muscular weakness. These are some of the things that people are experiencing. And I will say this. I have very good friends in the restaurant industry. I'm not saying go to the restaurant and fight the hostess, fight the owner. They don't want to wear the mask any more than you do. They don't want this new normal crap. They want to be able to have their businesses and live their lives without being impeded. I think we all want that, right? Okay? So, I'll leave it with this last statement, debate about masks or any other part of this thing. I'm all ears. I'm ready. Because there's a lot of doctors out there like me, and we're trying to get this message out there. But I'm getting doxxed or I'm getting attacked and threatened by people for sharing this message. And you know what? Threaten me all you want. I'm not afraid of not one of you. Because I know who I am, and I'll never stop. Thank you very much for listening. I love you all. Have a nice day. God bless.